Okay, so here we are, Facebook Live, coronavirus takeaways for boosting your energy and your immune health. Everyone wants to know about that right now. And I think whenever we are faced with adversity, we got to look at the silver lining. And I think there's always these sayings like make lemons out of lemonade, or if life cracks you eggs, make an omelet. That's one that I heard on Curb Your Enthusiasm the other day. But anyways, I think it's really important because there's a lot of takeaways that we can get from this pandemic that we aren't necessarily doing right now, that we need to listen to the signs of how our body has basically been engineered over the millennia to fight adversity, fight famines, and fight illnesses, and ultimately pass on the successful genes so that we can thrive and we can procreate. And then, like the natural selection, the strongest survive, and the weakened genes don't survive. And I want to talk to you about that today because it has a lot to do with your HPA axis, your hormone responses, your ability to have energy, your ability to have immunity, your ability to have longevity. And I think it's really important. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja. And today I want to talk to you about what these take homes or these takeaways are as it relates to boosting your energy and your immune system. So some of the things that I want to talk about is why the virus itself is urging you to get back to the basics. We're going to talk about what you're doing right now when you're in lockdown. It's either helping or hurting you. And then we're going to talk about this balance between autophagy and mTOR that really is kind of the underlining theme of what we want to talk about today. So the first and foremost is how we're engineered. I mean, we're engineered as nomads, really, that go through time of feast and famine. We really do. And our body is engineered that way. It's engineered on a circadian rhythm, on darkness and light. And it's also engineered on communicating in communication. And your cells communicate. And when that communication breaks down, aging sets in and immunity breaks down, and your body is more prone to illness. So this virus is, and the spread of it is kind of like putting smelling salts under our noses to make us to wake up and realize we got to be proactive. We got to take care of our health. Not only to come out of this with greater strength and immunity and resiliency, but to have a lot more reserves when something else like this happens, because the people that I work with, typically they're exhausted and burnt out before all of this. And now this is making them even more exhausted and more burnt out and more fearful and more oversympathetically stimulated. And so what I want to talk about is, what are we doing that isn't in line with what our body has been created to or engineered for? And if you think about it, we never had cell phones. We never had Wi-Fi. We never had the abundance of food that we have now. And all of these stressors are way more in your face than the proverbial saber-toothed tiger analogy. Like when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, we're facing a saber-toothed tiger every day with our toxins, with our EMFs, with the pathogens that we get exposed to, with the foods that we get exposed to. And what you do during this isolation is going to make you more healthy or less healthy, in my opinion, and choose the more healthy way. And so what I want to do is talk to you about autophagy and talk to you about mTOR. So autophagy is our body's cleaning unit. It takes cells and debris and it clears it out. It removes misfolded proteins so that it doesn't activate your consequence of domino effects of your genes being turned on for self-preservation. And it's a necessary thing, autophagy. And unfortunately, now that we're isolated and we're in our homes all day long, the fridge is right there. And I know if I stayed at home all day, I'd be 600 pounds because the fridge is right there. And when you're stressed out, you're also eating more things. And we're not engineered to eat as frequently as we do. We're engineered to eat in terms of time restricted eating windows, or when we're going through a famine, to not eat at all. And then there's lots of research that shows calorie restricted diets are better for longevity and better for health and energy production and immune strengthening. So if you're at home now eating all the time, that is not a good thing. I mean, that's common sense, but it's not a good thing in terms of it stimulates your mTOR. So now what is mTOR? Whereas autophagy is more your ability to cleanse and recycle and remove and repair and really clean the slate, if you will. On the other hand is mTOR. And mTOR is really about growth factors. So building and regenerating. And that requires lots of proteins. We have mTOR stimulation from iron, from B vitamins, from weightlifting, from EMFs. That's another thing. When you are on your phone all day long and exposed to EMFs almost everywhere you go, that's stimulating your mTOR too. So if you're eating lots of food, you're on Wi-Fi, and you're stressed out, right now your mTOR is going crazy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a good thing all the time. And that's where I want you to start thinking about, how can I harness the engineering of my body to work in my favor, especially in today's day and age. And so what I like to see is going through 3 or 4 days, or 1 or 2 days, 6 or 7 days of one or the other, not both. You don't want to be pulling in different directions on the same rope. Meaning you don't want to be doing intermittent fasting, restriction of calories, restriction of proteins, and always be on your cell phone and taking lots of B vitamins or lifting weights. On the flip side, you want to be doing the mTOR stuff for repairing and regenerating and building without doing the autophagy stuff, which is intermittent fasting, protein restrictions, Wi-Fi restrictions. So I wanted to encourage you to take a look at what you're doing during this crazy time and see if it's harnessing your engineering so that you can get the best help that you can. So this is a complex subject. There's definitely the requirement of looking at your predispositions of your genes. Like, I think that in order to have the best customized approach to this, it requires looking at your functional genomics, And we offer a functional genomic test, and we review that test and go over it with everyone that I work with. Because that's going to tell me, okay, you do have challenges in your autophagy, or you do have challenges in the things that stimulate mTOR. And ultimately, that mTOR is going to create a huge burden on mast cells. And then mast cells are going to stimulate your white blood cells. And then white cells are going to stimulate your HPA axis. That's going to release cortisol. And that's going to have an impact on your histamine. And that's going to be really problematic. There's a lot of downhill impacts of all of this, which, if all of that's going haywire, makes a viral load that much more problematic. And this is why I call it a wake-up call, because you don't need to know the ABC alphabet soup like I do, but you need to know the basics. And the basics is, am I doing things that are supporting my autophagy, or am I doing things that are supporting my mTOR, or am I doing both at the same time? And there's 3 lessons there. Number 1, learn how to do things for autophagy, learn how to do things for mTOR, and learn how to do them not at the same time. because if you're constantly doing the mTOR thing, which just being in the environment that we live in today, you're doing that. EMFs, massive amounts of proteins, dairy, iron in the foods that are enriched, lots of B vitamins, lifting weights. Now, again, everything in balance in a Goldilocks zone is good, but you want to harness it even more in terms of making sure that you're doing stuff on 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days of only this, and 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days of only that. And I work with you to look at that stuff. So taking your glucose and your ketone levels, making sure you're looking at your genetics, looking at your other epigenetic factors like mold or infections or heavy metals or foods that you may be eating that you're reacting to, because ultimately that is stimulating your mast cells, which is stimulating your HPA axis, which is stimulating your mTOR, and it's a vicious cycle. So hopefully that made a lot of sense. It's a very difficult concept, but I want to just continue to throw new stuff at you. So you're like, oh, that makes sense. I kind of knew about this, but I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. Now it makes a lot of sense for me. And that means being metabolically flexible. That means being able to go from intermittent fasting to feasting, or to not having protein and not lifting weights and not being on your cell phone, not taking B vitamins, so that you cleanse and you repair. And that's really key. So hopefully that made a lot of sense to you. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today. Put your comments definitely in the feed, because unfortunately I can't see your comments. And then make sure that you like or subscribe or share this with other people. Please, I ask that you share this. And then most importantly, if you're wanting to maximize your health and get your health back, or come through this ahead, and all of this makes sense, you're like a biohacker, or you want to be able to customize a program so that you come out of this with way better health than you did coming into it. And you're no longer, because that's the other thing with this is that it let us know how vulnerable we are in terms of how much time do we have to not be working, or how good was your health before a health scare. And to me, that's lemonade, right? That's lemonade. Squeeze those lemons and make lemonade and get something out of it. So if that makes a lot of sense to you, I'll put a link in here where we can sign up for a call, no charge. But again, I always say you have to be serious. Like, don't waste my time if you're just kicking tires. You're really serious about getting your health back, and you are decisive that like, I got to get my health back, and you're resourceful. You're going to do what it takes to get your health back. Then I'm going to put a link here. But I'll continue to, no matter what, provide information for you to give you some more ahas so that you get your health back. Anyways, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and I look forward to ending your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Take care and have an awesome day.